Episode 1. 30 years ago, the entire central part of the Asia continent was ravaged by seismic space. The estimated casualties amount to 150 million people. When I woke up in the morning, you don't pretend you have the virus and scare it. Shido went downstairs. She was still hiding, so he threatened her with his own hand. On TV, 24 hours are reporting on the town's space missions. The consequences of every case are catastrophic. Seeing my child eating lollipops, he asked for it and made him eat breakfast instead of candy. I can't get Shido candy to finish it before breakfast. Because my children ask for lunch at home, they will have lunch at the shop. Shido said goodbye to his sister but was seen by the girls. They're starting to think you're a sick kid who loves high school kids. Hiro came out to say hello to Shido. But heroes also have bad rumors that they like both boys and girls. They're all in the eyes of a little girl or super genius. Hiro was in the same class as Shido again. Hiro boasted about his girlfriend, but his girlfriend is a character in the game. Speaking of which, a friend called Shido. Shido didn't know who he was, so he asked his friend. Hiro says she's a genius girl named Ori. She has the top performance in the whole class, including physical education. Tama teacher into class and she will be the class teacher this year. Ori keeps looking at Shido so you don't know why. When he came back, he asked him to come home, but he had a date with his children. The school announces an upcoming round of town spaces in the area. And this is not a normal town space, it's huge. Everyone went to the shelter. Shido called her and wished she wouldn't come to the place she was supposed to go without you hiding. Because you can't call, you have to check the location. He realized that he was at the place where they were supposed to have lunch. Shido quickly ran out and got there. Town space takes place and someone appears in the remnants of town space. She took her sword and slid a Shido across it. She asked Shido coming to kill her. There were men coming to launch the missile but they couldn't take her down. Ori is also here and Shido doesn't understand what she's wearing that armor. But nothing happened yet, and you two fought each other and created an explosion. Shido opened his eyes again and saw Rei. A girl from the paramedics just gave you first aid. He remembered his sister and asked about it. Shido was met by Deputy Commander Kyo. Next to him was his brother who was sitting on the chair. Kusa held her Ori because she overreacted. The son of Shido is the commander-in-chief here. You talk about what you just met. Every time they show up, they accidentally blow up a large area. And the last team was asked. Elf Defense Force. In addition, to lower the chimpanzee, it also needs the support of Shido. You'll be trained tomorrow. They are now in the sky of the city, specifically in the frigate Frac C. The next day, the Shido class will have an assistant head teacher, which she said was Rei. She pretended to be a teacher to have something easier to deal with Shido. But Shido's training software is the game your friend used to play. It is the Shido's duty to persuade the spirits instead of fighting them. By the afternoon Ori told Shido not to reveal his case and asked. As for the girl, Ori had to kill the elf in order to do it. Your parents were murdered by an elf 5 years ago. Episode 2. Back then, Ori was looking for his parents. You saw them, but an explosion took your family in front of you. Rei installs Shido for an invisible AirPod. My son said he would enter the second phase of the training. You had a mission to get rid of the teacher. If the girl you usually worry about doesn't finish, don't say anything about the elf. Whatever happens, Rei and Kodo will support you. But Shido can't talk. But when she said Kodo again, she was quite interested. When the mission was completed, you stole your tail and ran away. Running too fast and you have to Ori. Kodo told you to use her to practice. Shido did not praise anything but praised the uniform. After that, Shido said that she also agreed very smoothly. She was thinking about going out with you. But at the same time, there was a warning sound that there was going to be a space war. Ori, run fast and get ready. Shido was ordered to return to Frank C. They predicted this time the elf would show up in Shido's school district. Besieged tanks. Ast team also packed. Everything in the city goes down to the bunker. Town space begins to occur. After that, the school broke up. Prince is now in the classroom. Ast can't come in arbitrarily. Now only Shido is the only one who has access to Prince. He started to come in. Behind you is a francophone team. Each and every one of them is a man of honor, a man of blood, a man of love. You can also consult people all over the world. Shido comes in and meets Prince. She looked at you and launched an attack. Shido says, I'm not the enemy and man. Can we make peace? Something like that. The system who starts the mental analysis and offers 3 answers. The other team started voting and he said to follow. But just now, she was killed. Shido has to speak his way and introduce himself. You said you had no purpose. She asked what he was here for. In Kodo, the computer gave 3 answers. But just saying the answer in there, you're a little faded. Shido had to tell her true feelings to accept her. You're the first person she talks to. You asked for her name, but she didn't have a name. She asked what name you wanted her to have. In Kodo, she told everyone to think of a name to answer. Many names are written. But just picked a name. Shido was slightly killed. He decided to make a name for himself, and you chose the name Tuka. You write that name on the board. The two sides began to be close, but suddenly the AST team attacked. She told Shido to run away. Tuka was worried he had been killed in the vicinity. He refused and sat back down. You told her to leave them alone. Two people sitting in the rain talking to each other despite the AST group shooting. Tuka didn't even know who he was. All she knew was that the asteroids had attacked her. Seeing Shido muttered, so Toka raised doubts. You decided to tell her I was going out with her. The asteroid group saw a wall collapse and exposed the Shido. They put a ceasefire and Ori plunged. Toka asked what dating was, but Ori interfered. You're lucky you got a cut. The rescue team took Ori away. The next day, Shido went to school, and he met Toka again. You don't understand why she's here because there's no space alarm. She wanted to date you even though she didn't know what it was. Shido told her to get dressed and show her a picture of the uniform. Toka changed immediately without undressing. Episode 3. Toka was very curious about the things around him. She tried a piece of cake and found it delicious. I thought it was a date, but it's not a date. Toka smelled the sausage. Thought it was a date, so she came to eat. Heard an attack. He tried to attack everyone, but he didn't. Seeing the boy put the trash in the bin and was rubbed by his mother, she also followed. The actions of both of you are noticed by Ori. I know it's mischievous, but why is there no aftershock? She called the chief and asked for scouting equipment. Toka continued to immerse himself in the dishes. Shido asked about yesterday after you passed out. Yesterday, you did what you always did to move to another world. It was a very dark space when she walked in and felt very sleepy. After waking up, she found herself here. You don't know how you get dragged into this world sometimes. The spirit did not cause the surplus that they were only forced to come here. Ori confirms that the Toka is a miscellaneous one and that this is her chance when she is not equipped. On the way, the hero caught you. He gave you a ticket and left. In the restaurant, the hostess here is Rei. It turned out that they were secretly following the Toka. And the housekeeper here is Koto's son. They said they were only supporting Shido's conquest. They'll see you in the south after dinner. There the neighborhood was changed to a completely different place. When the Shido and the Toka approached, they began to invite the two of them in. Toka ran straight in. Ori receives the aggregation command. Toka is in the commodity version eating everything. It's all free, so you can enjoy it. But she felt Shido was still not happy. Toka felt like she was just having fun. You two keep having fun and hit some jackpots. They're going into a building, but Shido advises you not to come in and drag you away. It's starting to rain. They went into an amusement park. The two of them combined and packed, but they missed. Toka still refused to give up, but fortunately the other fell. In the afternoon, Toka said that I had a great time today, but she still didn't understand what dating was. Shido explained through the speaker to her. Ori is still pointing the gun at the Toka, but without orders, you can't shoot. Toka also found that the world was not too bad. She also understood why she was attacked. They're just protecting their own world. Shido said it wasn't your fault because you didn't mean to destroy the world. Even if people reject you, he will accept you. Suddenly, a gunshot sounded. Toka was pushed out, but Shido was not so lucky. Ori dropped the gun in her hand because she had just shot Shido. Toka now lost her best friend. The man you trusted most was murdered, so now the whole world is turning its back on you. Toka called out his sword and cut it straight to the Ori. Ori is still disappointed and faces Toka. Koto said the work continued. She believed her brother could not die so easily. Shido suddenly woke up. Koto told him that if he died once, he could still play the new game. Ori still sat in for Toka attack. You know you just turned into a murderer and you're no different from the elves. Toka decided to finish the blow, but Shido suddenly fell free. She came out to help him, but she could no longer control her sword. You need to free it somewhere. After all, Shido still carries the whole place. The world remains peaceful and does not lose a corner. Episode 4. Toka brought Shido cake to eat. Ori also appeared and she apologized Shido. Toka kept dancing and spinning because she wanted to be on the lookout for Ori. Back to the theme of cake. Ori also took his cake away and her cake looked more luxurious than Toka. Shido's friend also had cake, so she also brought him to eat. It's not raining today, but it's raining harder than usual. He was going to take a shower with a wet person but just opened the door. Toka was bathing inside. He asked her why she was here. She said she'd be living here from now on. Rei is also here. You said the car was here for easy care. Her spiritual powers were sealed by Shido. If the mental state of the Toka becomes unstable, the other capacity will flow back. As long as she's with Shido, she's stable. Until the special shelter for chimpanzees is completed, this place is still the best choice. Toka is not the only elf here. People still want Shido to continue talking to the elves. When she was talking, she overheard that Shido didn't want her to stay here, but most of the way Shido let her stay. Koto called his brother to replace the light bulb, but when he brought the ball in, he saw that Toka was going to the bathroom there. It turned out that this was also arranged by my son Koto to train Shido to deal with all situations. Toka came out and asked him to take the toilet paper. Koto called his brother to take a shower. I'm guessing she's planning on giving her a bath first. She refused and gave up. Toka hasn't showered yet, due to Shido thinking a bit too much, but he still did not know if he could save other spirits like Toka. But at the same time outside Toka was about to go to the bathroom. It turned out that the Kodo child had trapped him and Toka again. You're really tired of this training. The next day, it was lunchtime, and Toka and Ori were even dogs. Ori asked about the rice box that the two of them bought from the same shop. Shido doesn't know how to respond, but fortunately, there is an announcement that a space incident is about to take place. The teacher came in and reminded everyone to evacuate. Toka also needed to go to the shelter because her abilities were sealed, so she was no different from a human being. Shido asked the teacher to babysit. He ran quickly to the battleship. Looks like this space battle isn't that big. That spirit is Hermit. She's kind of a good morale. Ast started the action by discharging the bullets. They don't care how good a baby the spirit is. Shido said he wanted to save Hermit Girl. In a building, Hermit went inside to meet Shido. Because Hermit does not attack humans, it is also quite difficult to choose the answer. When you're done choosing, you're fucked by that puppet. He recalled the name of the elf and the puppet, causing Hermit's mood to plummet. But thankfully the Shido managed to. After making her happy again, he asked if she wanted to date him. Toka, you heard about town space and you didn't know it was that dangerous. She began to sneak out in the blink of an eye. Shido is inside the building playing with Hermit. She seems pretty naughty and misses her lips. It would be alright if Toka didn't see it. Toka has regained the power of the chimpanzee. While Toka was immediately pouring more oil into the fire. You take Hermit's puppet, and Hermit takes and wants the puppet back. Kodo warned that Hermit's mood is becoming increasingly unstable. But she had not yet done anything, and she called out an angel. She ran out and then disappeared in the white smoke. Shido, you don't know what to do with Toka now. Episode 5. Toka began to sulk. She sat back in the room and at Hermit's place she was standing in the rain, but she no longer wore a puppet on her hand. Rin spoke to Toka and asked why she was so upset. When you talk about Shido, you say no. But she didn't know why she was so upset. When Shido was shopping, he saw Hermit sitting in the corner of an alley. He called her back and she seemed a little panicked. Shido asked about her puppet. She didn't say anything. She just ran to hug him. Actually, just now, Shemet was trying to rummage around her puppet. The puppet was lost in yesterday's Ast attack. Kodo, you will also support Shido to find the missing puppet. When she was going to run, he gave her his umbrella so she wouldn't get wet. Rin said last time Shido and Hermit's case was just an accident. Looking for the bear, she was hungry, so the two of them would eat first. Because the shops around here are all closed, they will go home. Shido. The other bear is Yoshi and that's also her friend. After eating, Shido asked why Hermit was attacked without resisting. She doesn't like pain, and she doesn't want people to get hurt. Hermit was weak and lonely, so her puppet was like a friend as well as a hero. Shido was going to apologize for the fact that she had touched her lips and she just opened the door and said she was sorry. But everything went in the wrong direction again. Shido received word that he had found traces of the bear. You went to Ori because she picked up the bear after the attack. She invited him in for tea and wanted Shido to call her by her name. Ori told me to take a shower. Shido scouted for the bear to see if it was in the house. But looking around every corner, you don't see anything. He accidentally noticed on the top of the cabinet and saw that bear. After taking a shower, she went to talk to Shido. But suddenly she had a mission. Hermit attacked by Ast. She was forced into the street and had to call out the angel. A whole sector starts to freeze, and when someone hits it, it's gonna freeze. She was running when she met Shido. He quickly hooked up his pocket, but when he was looking, Ori intervened. The angel turned his eyes on you and struck an attack. Fortunately, he had remote assistance, so he could not lose his life. Toka came to apologize to Shido for not understanding what was wrong with you. He borrowed the power of Toka to save Hermit because Hermit is as much a spirit as Toka. She came forward and lent him something. Ori as if one wants to destroy the crowd and want to harm the spirits. Unfortunately, there was a Toka there, so the Ast team changed the target. Shido decided to end the world but Kodo prevented. This time it's more dangerous than the last time you got shot, but you're still coming in. When he saw Shido, Hermit ran out to recover him. He gave her Yoshi to make her cry. The end of the world was opened and the power of Hermitage was sealed. Episode 6. Shido said the group wanted to go to the hot springs. Kodo had to agree because it was the spirit's request. They will go to Tengu Hot Springs. The deputy commander also advised Kodo to accompany them to resolve the situation because he had dark thoughts. He was castrated. Kodo also considered going to the hot spring with his brother, but gladly not finished. Someone announced that the holiday would be postponed, but in return, you'll have a hot spring bath in Tengu. All the girls were glad to go to the hot springs except for Ori. Ori wants to use his free time for training. After learning that Shido also came to the hot spring, she agreed that the group went to take a hot spring bath, On the way Toka just want to be Shido rubbing her head like Yoshi, but you sit in the front seat and you're in the back seat with pleasure. Because she was so angry, she missed damaging the bridge and the tunnel. Ast group uses public cars to hang out, but because of the captain's back, it's okay. Suddenly the train stopped, the tunnel collapsed, so they had to stop urgently. They decided to march from here to the hot springs. The group of Shido also started hoeing. Toka apologized, but Shido wasn't mad at her for it, but the Ast group also appeared nearby. The command center started to change bad as an operator, but someone ordered ahead of him and prevented the Ast group from reaching the group of Shido. When is the bridge going down? The mad cow. Every road has foreign obstacles that prevent the Ast group. They sent Ori probing from above. Koto disguised as a bunbar but was spotted by Shido. She was going to go with Shido, but there was a message she told him to go first. Ast group is still confused with the street in the city. Every state-of-the-art device is useless here. They start to get angry and use C4 bombs. The Ast said the attack group, so the Koto also issued a command to switch to level 2 combat. A rocket flew up and shot out all the glue that trapped the birds in the asteroid group. The cakes also turned into explosive bullets. The teddy bears are also a disguise of weapons. They realized the defense system was being activated. The team began to use weapons to counterattack. There was a bomb going to Shido. Yoshi was also blown away for the second time. Shido said, "I'd go find her." Yoshi. The asteroid group started to eat onions again. Team leader asked, "I don't know why I got into this stuff. You're supposed to be in a hot spring." She madly destroyed everything she saw. The whole city began to collapse. Although no spirit appeared, Shido also found Yoshi. But a big bomb is going down on your head. It explodes and blows up a region. Shido was fine thanks to the shield. Afternoon, the asteroids can rest. The Shido team also reached the hot springs. But because of Yoshi, the hot spring was frozen again. And the hot springs. But fortunately the deputy commander, while he was serving the penalty, dug a circuit of hot springs. So the whole Shido team went there to take a shower. Episode 7. The whole Ast group was down except for Ori. She confronted Lieutenant Mana but still failed to win her over. Mana took down 10 men continuously and was nicknamed the elf's other spirit. "I heard you killed an elf somewhere." But Mana says it's not like any other elf. While watching the video, Mana called him Shido. Ori asked her because as far as she knew Shido had no brother like Mana. The next day, the Shido class had another friend moving in, and she's called Kuru, and she also said she was an elf who surprised everyone. Kuru wanted to be led around the school after school. She went straight to Shido and asked him. Mana said it wasn't a normal elf. Although there was no town space, her hands were stained with blood, at least 10,000 people. Now the Shido's mission is that before Ast intervenes you must conquer her. Now you're gonna show her around the school. You two go to the cafeteria. Shido started to follow what Koto said, but it was all messed up. When the Kuru said his request, Ori and Toka revealed themselves. The two began to say this and said that the Shido was known as Hobby again. By the afternoon Kuru thanked Shido about today. Kuru was happily coming back when he ran into some thugs. She started leading them into the alley, but then they all turned into tomato sauce. Mana was one step late and couldn't save them. On the way back, Shido and Toka met Mana. She came running and was as happy as she was to see someone close to Shido. Mana came home to Shido and got acquainted with Koto. Actually Mana is the sister of Shido. As a child, Shido was left in front of the Koto house, so she was not your real sister. Mana knows Shido is my brother thanks to a photo. She had a vague memory, but she still remembered her brother going somewhere. She was very sad and worried about her brother. At this time, she saw her brother was healthy so she was happy to cry. Koto kicks the Shido aside. Shido is your family, so you won't let Mana lead Shido anywhere. Actually, Mana didn't have that intention. You just need to see your brother happy. But after that, Mana said that like Koto, there is no door to fight with siblings. They don't know what you're talking about. After that, Shido has to choose one of you. You asked about Mana's whereabouts. She seems shy and says she's in a pretty special job. After talking, she asked permission to go first. The next day the teacher scored but did not see the Kuru. Ori says Kuru won't go to school from now on. You appear out of the blue. Ori was surprised that the Kuru still appeared. Shido's texted lunch break to the physics room. You go there and ask me what I want to see. She showed him the footage recorded yesterday. Kuru and Mana. Next to it there are both Ori and Ast groups. Kuru called out the mascot, but she was shot in succession by a Mana. Then the Mana cut off her head. Although yesterday Kuru was killed by Ast group, but today she still goes to school. That's the problem here. Ori meets Kuru privately. You said she was supposed to be dead. Kuru knew yesterday Ori was also there with Mana. Ori's men are tied up. Ori asked what her purpose was and the Kuru said it must be Shido. She found him very good and wanted to get along with him. Episode 8. Shido promised to take Kuru around the city. Kuru agrees and they meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock in front of the station ticket office. The question is, why is the Kuru still alive? As long as you survive, the Shido plan will continue. Since Shido is off tomorrow, Shido will have to date Kuru. Once you find out you're alive, Ori will tell Ast. And Mana knew it, so you had to act on them. But Ori was right next to him and asked what he had just muttered. Shido quickly eluded and left first. When Ori was tied up, she also had to be eaten. When he returned, Shido asked about today's lunch of Toka. At noon she worried about Shido so she could not eat. The girls come out to comfort you and promise to help you. When he got home, he pulled the curtains back. She started taking off her cuckoo shirt and crawled to Shido. Next she grabbed 2 tickets to her chest and gave them to him. I want you to go out with me and you agree. Tomorrow they'll set at 10 o'clock at the statue near the station. Shido has the phone of Ori. She said she'd meet you at 11 o'clock tomorrow at the fountain at the station. Shido made 3 appointments in one day. He tried to say no but was stopped by Koto. Now you just have to follow the schedule that your child has set. First you go to the ocean park with the Toka. The official date is started. Toka came and she was commended by the Shido for wearing a cute suit. But there was a change that Ori arrived earlier than expected. After that, the Kuru's main target was also present 10 minutes earlier. Shido is still playing with Toka in the ocean. They're enjoying the landscapes beneath the ocean filled with fish. But at that time, Shido came to meet with Kuru. He suddenly started pretending to have a stomachache and asked to go to the bathroom. Shido went out and was transferred to the ticket control near the station. You meet the Kuru just like they promised. People at headquarters started voting again to see where to go, but the places they choose are at risk of facing other targets. After all, they decided to go to the internal medicine store. Shido went in to pick up his things and was attracted to his eyes. After changing, the classmates came across the 2 of them here. Shido had to continue running the show, so he pretended to have a stomachache. At the fountain, Ori was waiting for Shido there. She decided the 2 of them would go to the movies. But first they're going to have a drink. Ori said after watching the movie, she wanted Shido to come to her house and play there for a while. Toka ran out and accidentally ran past the lucky Shido that he avoided in time. He asked her out to eat something, and then he kept running shows with these 3 girls. Kuru noticed in the forest that a group of young men were bullying a cat. She asked to play but suddenly the camera broke. Ori and Toka ran into each other. The 2 of them started to know that Shido was dating their opponent. Meanwhile, Shido lost sight of Kuru. He followed the signal to be informed. Deep in the forest, it was all blood. And what was left in front of the Shido was a pair of shoes. He began to shock and lose his temper. The man in front of you is a Kuru and you're taking some young man to make beer. After that, only 3 of his shots were punched in. Shido tried to run away but was held back by her. She's going out with you a little bit more, but now she's sure it's time to do it. Fortunately, Mana appeared to save his life. Episode 9. Kuru began to be attacked. You can't dodge the bullet lines of Mana. Shido told his brother not to kill her. But after all, the blood flashed. Shido didn't understand how Mana could be so calm. Mana is so used to it that it feels normal. She said the Kuru is not dead yet. She's a special spirit. No matter how many times she was killed, she would show up somewhere like nothing ever happened. Shido was ejected and he dropped the headset. They let Shido cancel the plan and withdraw to base. Ori and Toka found Shido. They noticed that your hand was hurt, but you were still obsessed with that horror scene. On the way back he met Toka and she dragged him on a date. Ray gave the card to the Toka so they could eat whatever they wanted. Toka knew about Kuru and Mana. She said the Kuru was no different from the other spirits. If it wasn't for Shido, you'd be like a Kuru by now. The next day you saw Kuru, you said I would definitely save her. You won't let her kill again, and you won't let Mana kill her again. She went to the terrace and called out the priest. She wanted to confirm the words that Shido had just said. Because Kodo has business with Ori, Ray will go to the board instead. School begins to transform. They investigated earlier that Mana was overburdened with magic and couldn't survive for another 10 years. One gender link created in school. It can weaken anyone in the sphere of influence. Toka was also affected by this gender commitment. Shido was not hurt because he had sealed his strength to his body. Kuru called you to the terrace. Ori was also affected, but she had armor to help her resist. She was stopped by the Mana and began to fight. Toka was put on her armor and she had to fight the Kuru again. Actually, this boundary may attract other people's time. To use an angel, you have to spend a lot of time, so she took the external source. Your goal here is to eat Shido fresh. She told you to think again about saving yourself, and if you did, then maybe you'd give up the world. You said to break the line, but you're still going to save the Kuru. Kuru called out the town space deliberately. If it happened now, this whole school would be coloring. Shido started scaring Kuru with his life, and she really had to save you. After all, the Kuru had to retract the town space and retract the end of the world. You said she could still have a peaceful life. She began to wobble but was suddenly killed by another Kuru. She always tried Shido, but the Mana showed up in time. Thanks to the adjustment of the time, Mana recovers itself. She started fighting for real and the Mana was taken out soon after. Toka and Ori were also present. Kuru began to call out his past. After you control them, you call the town space. But it just came out and it went out. Kodo appeared and hovered in the air. She borrowed back her power Shido and took out her toy. Episode 10. Everyone was surprised by the presence of Kodo. She was under constant attack, making it possible for Kodo to take only one blow. Kuru began to use the gun to freeze the time of the Kodo and then called out a copy of the continuous fire to her. Then she lowered the curtain by shooting Kodo in the head, but suddenly the Kodo started to recover just like the last Shido. Kuru ordered one more gun, took out his copy, then destroyed himself. Kodo reacted quickly and ran to Shido to push him out. Kuru saw that the plan had failed, so he self-destructed. Kodo felt a little weak when she madly started to attack again. Kuru called all the copies to cover himself. An extremely powerful energy is fired down the replica and punched a hole in the Kuru's watch. She intended to end the blow but Shido prevented. You want to handle this without killing the Kuru. But now Kodo is immersed in satisfaction. Shido shields the Kuru and the energy is fired. At this time, Kodo just woke up but did not seem to catch up. Waking up, Shido was in the hospital. Yoshi and Toka were here watching over you. Ray came in to see him and told him the story after yesterday's fight. Fortunately, there were no casualties yesterday. But it's not over yet. Kuru had just escaped and everyone else had been injured. Shido went to Kodo and asked who she was. Is Kodo a miscellaneous person? She said she was human, but according to the data from the instrumentation, she was a miscellaneous person. You were born a human being in Itsuka's family, but in the last 5 years, she became a chimpanzee. Rather the one who holds the power of the spirit. She remembered nothing about how she possessed this power. What you remember is just vague memories that you can't remember. Maybe someone must have wiped out the memories of 2 cousins. Toka wakes up but is a little scared because he can't find the Kuru. She asked Yoshi and ran away. Actually, back then Shido had the ability to seal the power of Kodo, so you can recover from your last Ori shot. Kodo told you to get close and punch him. She blamed Shido for not taking care of herself. Good thing you were conscious again and deflected the line of fire. Actually, after you regained your powers, you lost control at some point. She had a dream filled with destruction and death, but also thanks to yesterday Kodo stood in front of Kuru so she had the consciousness again. Kodo began to burn out and fell. Rin told you to go home and leave her alone. Toka found Shido, but you don't seem to care about her either. The Shido's task now is to date his children to seal their strength. Shido went to the hospital to visit Mana and accidentally met Ori, but now she's being treated in a high-tech room. No one can come in for a visit. When I was going to leave, I saw that Ori fell. Back to the room, Ori also made Shido peel apples for me, then he had to feed her. When Shido is going home, Ori wants you to tell the story after yesterday's fight with Kuru. She remembered that there was a fire spirit in the sky, but because she almost fainted, she did not remember anything. Shido said he had also passed out. Ori told me about the fire in which a chimpanzee burned your family alive. She had always looked for that spirit and finally yesterday it appeared. She asked for the same reason. Episode 11. Banana worm everything. Ori's parents were burned alive by Kodo. But this secret only Shido knows. And now you can save Kodo only Shido. Mana announced that tomorrow Ori could be discharged. The school is also temporarily off, so you don't have to worry about it. There are also some new equipment delivered to the base. It would be a lot better than the previous ones. The play area with swimming pool will be the right place for the meeting between Shido and Kodo tomorrow. They also have training sessions for Shido, but I don't know why the training session was about buying medicine with Toka and Yoshi. Ori also appeared here, causing the 2 elves to defend. She asked about the fact that the elves used fire yesterday, and they must have seen him, so they wanted him to tell them. Toka refused and had to beg. They all fell and told her. But Toka was full of details that didn't make any sense. Ori is here anyway. She always asked Shido to choose a reasonable swimsuit for her. So between Ori and Toka came a struggle to date Shido. Toka started with a white suit and a simple design. The Ori is wearing a black suit and less fabric than the Toka. Seeing that he did not lose, he tried another set. This time it's dreamy purple with a lack of fabric. The Ori also changed the other set, but this one looks very discreet. But that's not all because it's half closed and half open. Finally, a third person intervened. That's Yoshi and it looks like you beat it all. Shido wants us to succeed tomorrow. You don't understand how I sealed Kodo back then. There was a film about 5 years ago that was left. In it you can see Koto and Shido. Shido realized in the video that there was someone you couldn't know. He just followed the reflection and realized that that blur was someone. Memories began to rush back and Shido fell. The next day, he still scheduled a date with Kodo as planned. Kodo came with the suit she had prepared. At the same time, Toka and Yoshi were here. They even brought the suit you picked for yesterday. All 4 started swimming. Kodo had no feelings when he was praised by the Shido. I guess Ray and the guys at headquarters did, so there's no feeling. Toka asked them to play the slide. They started to cling to the Shido and then slide down. The 3 water recipients were enough to frighten Yoshi. The group continued to eat again. The other 2 ate enthusiastically, but Kodo looked annoyed. You don't have any feelings. If that's the case, you can't seal her. When Kodo went somewhere, Shido looked relieved. Shido asked to go to the bathroom again. He asked headquarters about the current mood measurement on the girl, but he accidentally caught Kodo asking for medicine behind the water water machine. Rin came out and he asked about Koto's condition. When Koto came back, Shido told her to change her clothes and go with her to the play area. Shido said it wasn't a directive. You throw the headset straight. Mana is introducing weapons of mass destruction to Ori. Ori talks about the video and realizes that the spirit is Koto. Last episode, Shido and Koto are still playing at the playground. They were also a little closer to holding hands. Toka and Yoshi are still experiencing the cleanliness of nature. Yoshi talks about how Koto is the elf and what Shido is doing for her. Now there's nothing they can do but believe in Shido. Suddenly there was an alarm that the weapon of destruction had disappeared. In the afternoon, Shido and Koto sat talking again. Koto felt that the moment was right now, but she wanted somewhere more discreet. But it doesn't matter here. Shido wanted to ask Koto about 5 years ago. Speaking, suddenly the Koto's chair exploded, but after the blow just now, Koto didn't die so easily. Ori continued to attack but still could not do anything about Koto. Koto began to put on a hunch. And that's what Ori's been looking for all this time. She started discharging bullets into the Koto place. Toka and Yoshi also noticed the appearance of Koto. They were going to help, but they forgot that their abilities were sealed. Toka called out the priest. You can't let Shido be that dangerous. Yoshi felt that was the way to help. The two parties fought violently and were quite balanced. Koto began to climb on the Ori and press his head to ride his neck. You're starting to lose control like last time. Koto was about to give the final blow and Ori asked if she had killed her family the same way. Koto began to stop attacking. Ori tells the story of how his parents were killed by a fire spirit, and that man is none other than Koto. After she found out, she started to break down. Take the opportunity or I immediately tie her up. Shido went out to stop, and once you pull the trigger, you can't turn around. He asked what Ori wanted revenge for was mischievous, not Koto. You want to give me some time? Suddenly there was a straight down to the Ori. That's Toka. She came with Yoshi. The two of them will stop Ori to let Shido and Koto run first. Toka repeated the time when Ori killed the wrong person. In a corner, Shido and Koto are sitting there. Most of the way Shido started to seal Koto here. Koto began to remember a little. Shido got shattered and thankfully, thanks to the Koto's ability to seal in you, he was able to recover. Now Koto is no longer a miscellaneous. Now Shido is the spirit of fire. Last time, it was the spirit that killed Ori's parents, not Koto's. Ori still does not believe in the truth. Shido doesn't want Koto to be taken away from her. Ori was going to pull the trigger but she couldn't afford it and passed out. The time of Kuru's return. Shido seal Koto looks better yesterday. Koto now has to write a report about the mischief 5 years ago. Okay, Season 1. This is the end of this video with 1K likes. I will go out in Season 2.